Hey there. Guess what? Winter is here with a vengeance. We went from almost 70 degrees one day to a low in the 20s the next night. Seriously, it was like a 45-degree differential in the space of about 12 hours. But that's what happens here in the Mid-South. You know, I think we get used to it, but it doesn't make it any more fun. Point is, I want to get inside Pearl and talk a little bit more about some of the things we touched on in our end of year, beginning of year recap last week, and actually show you some of the projects that have to be done, okay? So let's get in out of the wind. At least maybe it might be a little bit. All right, my Gnomies. Nice to be back in Pearl once again. And if you're wondering why I'm all bundled up here, it's because it is seriously cold. It's like below freezing out here, about 29, 30 degrees. So we may not be out here for very long. But I do want to spend a little bit of time talking a little more about some of those projects we covered last week, and actually looking at what's involved right here inside Pearl, so I can show you what we're talking about. Now, you might be able to see that we actually have all these rafters in place right now. They're not secured, they're not tied down in any way. They simply have the weight and the pressure of being against the ceiling, holding them in place. That's doing a pretty good job for the time being. But of course, that's not a permanent solution. We are going to have to come up with a way to actually secure them on the sides. This may involve doing some sort of L bracket, perhaps right in here, or maybe on the side, just something to actually hold it firmly in place. Now, these sideboards are screwed directly into the metal frame, so they're secure. They're not going anywhere. But we do have to fasten these to these. So we'll have to determine the best way to do that somewhere on down the road. But if you have any ideas, well, you know where to comment, right? And I'd love to get your ideas. Something else you're going to have to look at on down the road is putting some wall supports in, too. I'm going to show you one of these old 2x here. Now, these are actually going to have to be, not this one, but the other ones. But they're all like 8, 12 feet long. They're too big for me to raise up. We're going to have to split them into 2x2s. And then we'll have to come up with a way to secure them, either, I don't know, maybe against a rafter or next to it, and then come down to the floor. So here again, that can screw directly in. But we might not want to do that. You don't want everything to be solidly fastened together. You have to remember that RVs, whether it's a motorhome like Pearl or a travel trailer or anything along those lines, even a full-size mobile home, if it's going down the road, it's under a constant shock from the vibration of the road. In fact, it's been compared to, you know, you're driving along and your motorhome or your RV is experiencing the equivalent of like a 5.0 earthquake constantly as you're driving along, and when you hit potholes, it gets even worse. The point is, if everything is fastened together too rigidly, it's going to shake itself apart. So you want a certain amount of flex in your wall joist, your ceiling mounts, even in the furnishings, especially anything you build in, the cabinetry, any kind of walls for a closet or a bathroom, something like that. You don't want it made with big solid wood like this. You want it made with something a little thinner that has a little give to it so that it can rock back and forth with the RV as you head down the road. And that way, your entire rig will hold together much better. I know, it's kind of complicated. That's why I'm throwing this at you right now. You can be thinking about it. See, I'm not going to be doing this in the next 3 to 6 months. In fact, it's kind of on the project that it may be much later in the year or even next year before we actually get down to interior work. But I want you to be thinking about it so that whenever I get there, you will have ideas to help me. Because I need ideas. Always knows. I need your ideas. Comment below. Now, before we get too deep into the ceiling and walls, we gotta fix this. Look at my hand right here. This wood is damp. It has been damp and wet for a long, long time. I mean, for many years. These windows, which aren't even here right now, and you can see my plastic is ripped out too now. Gotta fix that. But anyway, they were leaking for a long time. Whenever we got Pearl, you may remember there was a big mattress up here in this area, a very big mattress, and the entire decking, which was on top of this. There's 2 layers of it. There's the bottom layer and the top, separated by these little 1x6. The top layer was covered in lovely 1970s era orange shag carpet. It was wet and rotten from all the water abuse it had been suffering. So we got rid of all that, got rid of all the wood. And the wood underneath definitely paid the price. It's in really sad shape and has completely come undone here around the edge. Yeah, I put my hand outside here. That's daylight tar that you're seeing. It's completely undone. It's still fastened at this point to the fiberglass cover, but the wood itself has come apart completely. This is the worst part, this corner right here. It's not as bad on around the front and not as bad on the other side, but it's bad enough to need replacing. The entire bottom has got to be completely taken out, completely replaced, and resecured to the fiberglass cowling. Now on the outside, there's simply a cover that runs along around the bottom edge, and it covers a set of screws that attach the cowling to that bottom. And the bottom itself is also very firmly attached to the frame of Pearl here. They basically just cut the top out of the cab from this van front end and set this on top of it and bolted it in place with some pretty serious bolts. Bolts like that are all the way around, securing this to the metal framework. So, I guess my whole point is that it's not exactly going to be a piece of cake heading this all apart and getting that replaced. Plus, it needs to be repaired in the same way. 2 levels. the bottom piece of plywood that forms the foundation, and then we'll build a framing out of this. That's called 1x. It's really about a ½ inch, I guess. And then a second piece on top of that to make the decking for this entire shelf area. I am currently not planning to use this as a bed area. It had a large 2-section folding door that actually filled this gap where I'm standing right now. I think I'm going to leave the gap. I sort of like it myself. It really opens things up here in Pearl and makes it much more comfortable, especially as far as sitting in the driver passenger seat. But you don't feel so enclosed and confined. So I think I'll probably leave it this way. But all this has got to be fixed. It's got to be resecured to the fiberglass overhead area here on the front. It'll be a big job, to say the least. And here again, I'm more than open to your ideas about the best way to approach it. We're not doing it next week or even next month, but we will be doing it. Okay. What else here do we need to talk about? Oh, these insert boards on the top. It's going to be kind of hard to show you these because I do have the rafters in place. So let me do my best here. This board right here is the stick one. It is, if I'm not mistaken, 3/8 inch. What it looks like anyway, about 3/8 inch. It is doing a really good job filling that gap and providing some lateral support to this flimsy metal roof. You have another smaller piece put in over here. This is only like 1/4 inch. It's just not as good. I'm not as satisfied with the fit on it. So I pretty well decided that we're going to go with that 3/8 inch. Now, this piece that I have up here is maybe a foot, 12, 13 inches wide, and maybe 24 inches long, perhaps a little bit longer. Lengthwise, that's not bad, but I want something wider. So I will just have to buy a couple of sheets of 3/8 inch. And then we need to determine what size we're going to make these. Now, there are 2 limiting factors on that. The biggest one is what size can I get in place? Because I'm not taking the roof off to do this. I have to slide them into place. And that means it has to slide up this way in and across. So I have about 24 inches here, or 24 inch spacing, I think, between the lateral supports. So I've got that much to go in and put it into place. And width-wise, I have 16 inches. These metal braces are put on 16-inch centers, just like you would have in a house. So the widest my board can be is 15 inches to fit in there, 15 and a half, realistically, and about 2 feet long. So I'm going to have to be positioning boards of that size, working them into shape as best I can, because I would like to get as much of the area of this flimsy roof supported from the bottom as I can. And I also need to treat the wood for waterproofing, or at least get it water resistant. And the reason for that is I have an aluminum roof here and I'm putting it against wood. Temperature differential, you're going to be getting moisture. You'll have condensation on the bottom of this metal. It's just gonna happen. That's a fact of nature. So I want the wood to have as much moisture resistant treatment as it can have in order to hold up against that potential condensation. Just trying to think ahead here and prevent more problems on down the road. So there again, if you have a recommendation about a good moisture treatment, you know where to come in. And oh yeah, there's still the carburetor project. Like I told you, vacuum hoses are hooked up. The linkage, well, I think it works pretty good. But there's not a fuel line hooked to it yet. That'll go right in here eventually. And of course, we got to come up with a little mounting piece for our breather cap to go on top. So, still a few things to deal with there. There's still plenty to do here on the engine as well. I've got to figure out why it's not turning over again, and got to drop that starter. You know what? In this kind of cold weather, I'm not looking forward to crawling under her and doing that kind of work. So we may let it warm up a little bit before I get back on that particular phase of this project. We'll see. We'll see. One more pretty important thing here on the outside. We're gonna need a door. This is just the screen door. Here again, you see how that plastic rotted off the casement. The original metal door is long gone. It was in pretty bad shape originally. And then in the process of making the trip from Nebraska down to here, what was left of it blew off. I've got a few scrap pieces of it, but most of it's probably ended up in a ditch somewhere along small road. Now I do have the mounting here. So this is the hinge that the door will mount to. There's even still a lock set and everything over here. So I really haven't looked into it, but I'm hoping that RV doors are kind of standard. I take a measurement of this one. As a matter of fact, no, I have a tape measure in my pocket here. So, what are you doing? Looks like that's 22. About 67 maybe. 66, 67. 22 wide though. You write that down. Jacking prepared everything. Okay. Door. 22 by 66. Approximately. So I'll do a little checking and research. See what size doors are. Here again, I can probably, if I can get around a junkyard, maybe where there are some RVs. There's always a few stuck in there anyway. Maybe I can get a door that way. That's in pretty good shape. Planning on refinishing the exterior anyway, so whatever color, whatever markings are on it, we can redo all that. Just getting the door is the big thing. And that's another project that I'd really like to do, because that allows me to get a door on here, get windows back in, and that way I've got the inside sealed up. So that'd be nice. And then of course there's the matter of its rear tires. This is the one that has absolutely no brake mechanism installed anymore. So we'll be taking it apart to replace that. And I'm sure, like I said last week while we're doing it, we'll take the other dually off and replace all those brake parts as well, so we know they work well too. The front tires have disc brakes. I can tell you that there are discs and there are pads. I have no idea what condition they're in. Something else we got to look into. So, much like I was saying last week, there's a lot of work to be done on this old girl. She's worth it. I'm up for it. And I hope you're up for staying with me from week to week as we slowly but surely get Pearl the MT ready to roll. But for now, I'm going to see about rolling out of here and rolling back inside, because did I mention it's about 30 degrees out here? I can't even feel that sunshine that's hitting me right now. It's a brand new year. I appreciate you being along the ride. Remember to subscribe if you have not already. Click like below. Give me a thumbs up on this video. There's links below to mtnme.com and to buy me a coffee. So check those out and check us out every weekend with a brand new video adventure here on the MTN. Thank you so much, Gnomies. I love you. I'm Russ. Very chilly. We will talk later. I'm going to go find some meat. Bye.